wage their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons, the Transformers. The Transformers. That means the Transformers.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting edition of Transformers Reviews. Well, today, guys, I'm happy to bring you guys two Power of the Primes figures. And you know what? I gotta say, these figures, I'm actually really glad that I have them. But in addition to these Power of the Primes figures, we're actually going to go ahead and look at some additional weaponry that you can add to these guys. Because as these size class figures, they actually don't come with any. So with that being said, I will go ahead and name drop the weapons later. But for right now, let's go ahead and look at these guys as they are. Now we'll go ahead and start off with Slash. And for those of you that don't know, this was the first ever female Dinobot. And you know what? I think that's kind of cool because as far as I know, we've never had a female Dinobot. So, and you know what? Slash, I like her Raptor mode. Matter of fact, the way that a lot of the features work on this Dinobot, they actually remind me of one. I just wish I could remember which one exactly it reminds me of. Oh, wait a minute. It was this guy right here. And like I said, it's a very simplified version of the way that the Dinobot transforms, but there's a lot of, but I mean, it's basically just a lot of vague similarities that closely kind of homage Dinobot. And as far as details, she has got all the G1 Dinobot, just everything you would expect to see in one like him, you get with her. I mean, from the golds and the reds and the silvers and the blacks and the somewhat translucent head, you know, it's really cool. For these guys, they, like the previous line, they can actually have the line's masters ride on them or in them. So if we take my Cronus here, we bend his legs up, counter to what you would normally expect to have one sit. That's the only way that he can really fit in there to sit and look as though he's riding Slash as a means of transportation, you know, like he's riding on her back. Now, one of the things that I thought about is perhaps since they form kind of, I guess, engines, if that's what they are, you can kind of fold him up, and that way it kind of looks like she's being powered up by my Cronus. So that's another option that if you wanted to do that, you most certainly could. Now, the reason I just put the flap down is because he doesn't tab in totally securely. He's more secure when he's as a robot, because he's able to kind of friction-wise, but you see, if you kind of notice, he kind of slid back. So just by putting this little flap down, it does kind of secure him in there a little bit more, if that is the route that you choose to take. And just as one more little comparison with someone smaller than her this time, you kind of see that, and if you guys see my other reviews, you know, I don't really care for this mold, but for just kind of give you guys a little size comparison as to how these two scale to each other. That's why I went ahead and included him. So, alright, well, moving on to a figure that, because of nostalgia, I really, really like Beachcomber. Now, this is his 1980s, you know, cartoon color and appearance that he had, and here is his G2 appearance. Now, I gotta admit, I had this guy as a kid, and you know what, for back in the day, this little Dune Buggy, I mean, it's not bad. I mean, when you compare it to the new guy on the block, so to speak. I mean, there's lots of design similarities, and matter of fact, a lot of the transformation is similar too, much like with Slash and Dinobot. As far as a vehicle, he rolls really good. And I mean, as far as size class, I really do like him, because if we went ahead and compared him with, say, Jazz, and forgive Jazz, he's armored up for a reason. You know, I mean, true, I think a Dune Buggy is probably about the same size as a sports car would be. But if we go ahead and compare him with, like, we'll go ahead and compare him with a Voyager. See how he stacks up there. And just for fun, because we can, we'll go ahead and compare him with a leader class size figure. Oh, yeah, he just totally dwarfs Beachcomber. But that's okay, because Beachcomber at this size class is excellent. I forgot to mention this. I'm glad I saw it. Again, like Slash and other figures of this line, like I said before, you can go ahead and put any Prime or Titan Master in there. But to go ahead and put the Prime or Titan Master, you have to kind of break it apart so you can plug them in there. And then you just tab this back together. And and boom, he has a passenger riding. Alright, now that we've covered everything for their alternate modes, let's go ahead and I will show off those weapons that I promised as we go ahead and transition in looking at these guys in their robot mode. Okay guys, so here we have Slash and Beachcomber in their robot modes. Now one thing is, I've got to say off, just first thing, is that I was very impressed with their robot modes. But despite that, they felt like they were lacking something. Now earlier in the video you heard me say that I was going to mention or name drop the weapon add-on kit. And that's the Dr. Wu P36 Legends add-on parts. Now most of these blasters that I'm getting ready to show you, like these two, they're meant for different characters than who I'm using them with. But I felt that they actually matched these guys pretty well. So if you can kind of see on Beachcomber here, he has this little black pistol. And, you know, I watched a cartoon a little ways back, and I think this is pretty close to actually the animation model that he actually had. And I thought it just goes really well with him because, you know, like he has black, like, you know, on him, and it ties in really nice color-wise. And speaking of that, that's why I went ahead and gave Slash this gray one. I think it just ties in with her color scheme even better. Plus, it's just such a great size for her. It works really good. Now, one of the, or two of the other ones is this next one was actually intended for wheelie, but I don't have wheelie. But they, in addition to it looking like a slingshot, they went in ahead and added a post on it so that it could be used like a blaster. So that's why I went ahead and gave it to one of the clone bots, which I think he looks pretty good with it too. And then last but certainly not least is this cannon, which is modeled on Megatron's cannon and kind of homages the episode where Brawn actually jacked Megatron's cannon and actually used it on him. So like you saw, he can either hold it or you can peg it into the arm and, you know, just have a blast. And I really think this is my favorite one out of the whole kit. But other than that, if we go ahead and we take a look at who this one of the guys or one of the bots this review is about, like I said, when you get him, this is basically all you get. So like I said, he felt a little bit lacking, but with that pistol, I think it fills him out nicely. Now he is super close not only to his G2 version, but more so his cartoon version, because as close as this one is, it's not like the face on it is not totally accurate. I mean, this is more accurate right here, this guy. You know, and like I said before, the color scheme matches the original cartoon. But I mean, still, you can see, you know, how they have, for lack of a better term, evolved from the days of G2 to the Power of the Primes line. And I mean, I just love just all the improvements that they have for Beachcomber. He's one of my favorite characters. He's just, yeah, I love the overall design of this figure. It's really good. But, that being said, one more thing before we look at the awesomeness of Slash is this is actually from First Aid, but I thought for her character, in addition to the blaster, she could also hold this axe, which I think is like perfect for a Dinobot character. Oh, I just found one that Slag can use. Holy cow, I just discovered that. So anyway, if we take a look at Slash, one of the things I love about her is she keeps the Dinobot motif throughout her robot mode as well. I mean, because if you pull in, speaking of Slag, you can still see, I mean, the colors and how she doesn't drop it at all. Plus, that kind of gives you an idea of if she just comes up to Slag's waist, so, and we go ahead and bring in Beachcomber again, you can kind of see how they stack up to this guy. Come back down here on them. So I mean, it's really cool how, you know, she, unlike Beachcomber, she has something that Beachcomber doesn't. Beachcomber, you had a certain standard to stick to. With her, she has never appeared in animation or in any comics to my knowledge, so they could just run in any direction that they wanted to. And I gotta say, I love it. Everything from like the head sculpt, the visor, kind of reminds me of a movie called The Rocketeer, the way her head's shaped here. And just, I mean, the mix of bulky with the mix of slender parts, it looks excellent. So, before I just drool all over myself, you know, if you guys have been on the fence about these guys up until now, I can honestly tell you, despite them not having weapons, they're both decent figures. And if you find one, believe me, you would not be. It wouldn't be a waste if you picked up either one or both of these guys. So, alrighty, guys. Well, that was the review of Transformers: Power of the Primes, Beachcomber, and Slash. And until next time, guys, we'll see you in another review.